Hello and welcome back, guys, to Sound of Manchester. This is your host Prathamesh back online, and today we have with us Smith, Kushagra, Mihir, as well as Brandon. Well, it was a very disappointing performance against Manchester City, wasn't it? We got outplayed in the first half, and then we had a consolation goal by Marcus Rashford, who scored his 17th goal of the season. A little bit of enthusiasm is still there among the fans. I hope it was still there in the board as well, so that the club would run in a much better way. We would like to start with Brandon and Smith and what they feel about the performance against Manchester City, which was pretty disappointing as a whole. But I would like to learn more about that performance from them.
Yeah, hi there. So a pretty disappointing performance if you ask me. Overall pathetic, honestly. But I didn't expect anything better, to be honest. Looking at how Ole has his tactics planned out, only counterattacking teams like that. And by now we pretty much figured out that Pep would have come up with a solution to it, and he did really well. And for an instance, I thought like we would have conceded at least 5 goals in the first half, but luckily Phil Jones saved us. I'm sorry, Phil Jones didn't save us. But yeah, so the first half was pretty dreadful. The game was over in the first half itself. Lindelof was pathetic. I don't know what he was doing. He did not know anything about defending. And the thing is that Phil Jones and Victor Lindelof, both of them were so high in the pitch. They were in City's half basically. And when City countered, they weren't fast enough. They weren't just quick enough to come back and defend. And they are not quality, dude. They are not quality at all. Like you see defenders like even Fernandinho for that instance, he's handling City's defense so well. I don't know how, but I think it has something to do with the manager also down the line. Pep Guardiola, after City scored 2 goals, Pep was on the line instructing them what to do, and Ole was right there just swinging his hand and not saying a word. So that pretty much sums it up, like what our situation is right now. The only positives I saw in the first half were Brandon Williams and Mason Greenwood. So Brandon Williams yet again, I think contributed way more for uh, for for what we expect from him. And yeah, and Mason Greenwood also had his time, and he made a pretty good pass in the first 5 or 10 minutes, which almost led to a goal, but it unfortunately did not. And Fred had a decent half, but then again that all faded on the second half. Van Bissaka was decent. I can't expect much from him, honestly. He's been giving his best. Uh, Daniel James has been poor since the past 2 or 3 games. I think he's fagged out now. I think he needs the bench for a bit. He needs that rest. But and he's definitely not a starter for us. He needs to come in the second half, and he's probably more lethal when you put him on the 60th minute mark, because that's when he can tackle those tired legs, and that's when Daniel James can be utilized to his full potential. Jesse Lingard, I have no words yet again. Gomez did way more, I think. Uh, and Marcus Rashford, as usual, always contributing. Yet he wasn't as good as he is, but he's the one always who always scores, right? So yeah, that was my review about the City game. Overall, we were pathetic. Yeah, that's it. Smith, you can carry on from your man.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with almost everything that you said. And speaking of Lindelof and Jones, I mean, Jones, we all know how strict a footballer he is. He's been here since forever, but we still choose to keep him. Lindelof, he's had a rough time. He had a good season last year, but this year he's been shaky with Maguire alongside him. I don't know when he's going to improve on that. And yeah, like you said, Brandon Williams and Mason Greenwood and Rashford, of course, who scored, were the few positives. And also, I'd like to point out that Matic was also a pretty good sub. And I think Lingard knows what's coming his way after he was subbed at halftime. And by the way, if you noticed, when Lingard was subbed, almost the entire crowd at Old Trafford was cheering. So I think it's a rough time to be Jesse Lingard right now. And speaking of Matic, I think he helped us calm things down on the pitch, and he was pretty decent. And yeah, we stopped City from scoring 5 or 6. Otherwise, it would have been a dreadful day. It would have been worse than what it already was. And one more thing I'd like to point out was about De Gea. He had 13 long balls in the game yesterday, and just one found a teammate. So speaking of De Gea's distribution, that was pretty disappointing. 1 out of 13 is dreadful when you're on 350K a week. And yeah, like you said, James, he definitely needs a break, but I don't think we can afford to bench him right now. We don't have any other attackers. Rashford, of course, best player, and also Pereira. I mean, he just runs and tries, but he's shit at football, isn't he? I mean, if only if running and trying gave you so much. So yeah, I mean, I don't see us coming back from this 3-1 defeat at the Etihad. I mean, we did outclass Pep in the Premier League, but then he bounced back from it. He dropped a striker. He went with Sterling, Mahrez, Kevin De Bruyne, and Bernardo Silva, and he absolutely thrashed us in the first half. So, I mean, that's what a good manager does, right? He gets tactics right when a game goes wrong, and Ole is absolutely incapable of doing that. So, yeah, that I don't know. That's my review for the game. I mean, very disappointed.
Yeah, I think I have two more things to add on to this. Uh, we were supposed to be a counter-attacking team playing counter-attacking football against the top sides in the league. Manchester City beat us at our own game, I think, at Old Trafford yesterday. I think it was a brilliant setup by Pep Guardiola. Didn't have a number nine, but his midfielders managed to make all kinds of runs into the box and create goals from nowhere.
Yeah,
Bernardo, brilliant again. Mar is brilliant. I think the Bernardo doesn't sometimes receive enough credit, but he's an absolute wonderful player. Very good on the eye. Another thing is Pep Guardiola has been praising Manchester United for a long time since that Etihad defeat. I believe it was about time that Ole actually realized that he wasn't actually praising United. He was just setting United a challenge that I know how you're going to play. This is how I'm going to counter it. You need to figure out a way to do better than that if you want to beat us. And Ole being Ole just thought that, okay, we're getting praised here. But that wasn't the case, obviously. So I think another Pep Guardiola masterclass at Old Trafford. Talking about Ole being Ole and the tactics and counter-attacking football, I would like to move on to Kushaga. And isn't it very redundant that being Manchester United, being traditionally one of the top sides in the English game, we probably don't even have a plan A, let alone a plan B or a plan C. I think our counter attacking is just something which we just try because we have pace. I don't just see any tactic behind that. Kushagra, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, as most United fans are, extremely down about it last night. It's not like we all didn't expect it to go wrong, because let's be honest, even when United did beat City at the Etihad and they beat Mourinho's Spurs, those were lucky results. I mean, in the sense that the teams didn't take United's attacking strength seriously. Here, if you actually happen to see Pep Guardiola's press conference before the match, he spoke about how United are the fastest team on the counter, how they have pace, and their three players, Martial, Rashford, and Daniel James, are so deadly on the counter and everything. So there in itself, Guardiola is giving a hint to Ole or his coaching staff or whosoever is running the show at United that, bro, I understand what you guys did. I know I sort of was cocky when you guys came to Etihad, but it's probably not going to happen again. Then he goes out, the team list comes out what, an hour before kickoff, right? He goes out an hour before kickoff. You can see that they're not playing with a striker, they're playing with a false nine. What happens when you play with a false nine? You embolden and you empower your midfield. You have one more guy dropping back, making it a 3-3, proper 4-3-3. Unlike what United, because I would call United's formation as four and whatever you do. These there you have four defenders, and then when have you ever seen with that United? So let's talk about, okay, we talk about United good at counter. What happens when the other team counters United? And this happens regularly in every match. Our midfield is nowhere there to be seen. It was mentioned that De Gea had 13 long balls yesterday, and only one of them found his target. No wonder, man. We have headers in the team? Do we really? Who are you holding up that long ball for? What is the expectation that Rashford will go and get on the ball? Okay, hypothetically, he gets onto the ball. Who does it go to then? I mean, it was. It's okay. I mean, I have really supported this guy. I've never been someone who's been pissed off and started shouting from the rooftop that I don't want him here or something. But at this point, I don't even feel sad. I'm sorry, I don't even feel angry. I feel sad. I don't get it because it seems like he and his coaching staff just do not get it. Either that or there is something that they're building up to that none of us are capable of seeing. Because as you said, United don't have a plan A. United do have a plan A. United's plan A is to hope. It's to hope that the other team with their overloads become a little casual at the back. That is their plan A. They go into each match with hope, and Ole hopes that we put in a shift. This is just absolutely what has happened since United have gone on this spin post the Arsenal result last year, last March, when we went to the Emirates and when Jesse couldn't dance, and post that, that's all that has happened. I mean, there is a plan A, then there is a plan B, there is a plan C. All of them involve hope. Okay, so
Mm,
just
I
to talk
agree.
some just to talk some stats. United were outshot by City. United were outpassed by City. United were outthought by City. And what I can't believe I'm saying, United were outfouled and outfought by City. A team we have ourselves criticized for having a soft center, made more fouls, made more recoveries, ran more, and made more effort in spite of the level that they are at. United players can't even touch them. So United were lucky to lose 3-1. United really were lucky. It could have been 6, 7, 8 had Raheem Sterling known how to finish, and it could have been 6, 7, 8 had they gotten their final balls in the second half correct. So there is nothing to talk about tactics here. These guys are not competent of managing this team, but it's not their fault. It's the fault of the board. It's the fault of the management. You, it's the whole club is rotting from within, and we'll all just watch the. I can't use the words. We'll all watch the bleep show.
Yeah, you can say it. You can
Hey,
say it was a shit show. You
It's a
can
shit
totally say
show. I can't. I mean, I really wanted to swear there, but it's a shit show. But
it is a shit
yeah,
show.
man,
And
we're waking up till
yeah,
3:34 in the morning for this.
yeah. I mean, couldn't get worse, right?
just
But
wanted, just wanted to ask you guys whether Kushagra Dixit has turned up or is it Gary Neville? I just don't understand. I mean, it was fantastic analysis by Kushagra, wasn't it? We we have plan A, plan B, plan C. Just seems to hope, and just
but
just clueless about everything, aren't we?
yeah, but I would like to add on to that. You saw Ole's interview right after the match. He said we won the second half. I mean, there goes your intent to be United's manager. So the United manager is saying we won the second half against City and a win where the full time score was 3-1. So I mean, what do you even mean by you won the second half, dude? I mean, what kind of attitude is he trying to show by saying we won the second half? He laughed after the Arsenal game. He was cheering after he was cheering he was joyful after the City game as well, saying there were quite a few positives and the team is young, the team is young. How is it young? Pereira is 24, 25, Marcia 24, 25. There's Matic who's probably, I don't know, 40 years old. And there's Maguire, there's Lindelof, there's Ashley Young, who's never mind. There's De Gea, also experienced. There's Romero. There's Lee Grant. I mean, he does play a couple of young players here and there, but it is not a young squad. It is just a shitty squad. It is nowhere close to being, quality. And I absolutely agree with Kushagra. I mean, do I think Ole is a club legend? Yes. Do I think he's given the youth fair amount of chance this season? Yes. But is he capable of taking us forward? No. So yeah.
It's not so much about the second chances either, man. It's about he's come and then he constantly, you yourself mentioned about the press conference.
Yeah.
I think journalists are not kidding with him, because see the line of questioning that happened in the press conference. The first question that gets put forward to Ole is, oh, what did you change in the second half that you managed to just not concede one? I'm sorry, City didn't score one. United tried to concede. You had Phil Jones falling over and over and injuring himself, and then trying to run off the injury, and then God knows what. I mean, if he can get a contract, all of us should go and try out at United now.
We should.
Yes, I think another terrible Phil Jones performance, wasn't it? Absolutely no words to say. It was terrible. It shows everything that is wrong at the club, right down from the board of directors to actually tactically planning for a football match. It's just haywire at this point of time. And no matter whether it is Ole or someone else, I think we really need to get our plan A aside from hope and actually get something concrete on the pitch. Talking about trying to get something concrete on the pitch, we really have to step up our game. We do face Norwich City next, a performance that at Old Trafford is massively required. More than the performance, we do need the 3 points. And Mihir, what would you think are going to be the key factors, who are going to be the key players for us to get those 3 points in the game?
Yeah, of course. Norwich City, it's you can say it's one of the weaker teams, but we always tend to do worse against weaker teams. I don't know if we can do anything more worse than what we did against Manchester City. Speaking about the squad, I think, well, I know that Luke Shaw will probably be getting the start, but I hope that Brandon Williams starts at left back, and of course with Maguire injured and Tuanzebe injured as well, we don't have any other option but to start Phil Jones. I just hope that he doesn't make another meme out of himself against the likes of Todd Cantwell and Pookie has got 9 goals already this season, and Cantwell has been really good for Norwich City. He's contributed with 6 goals and 2 assists. So Norwich is going to be dangerous. We can't take them lightly even after we've beaten them 3-1. I think one key area that we need to think about is our midfield. Like like we saw in the Manchester City game, that Guardiola didn't play with a striker. His defense, his backline was a bit further behind than what it usually is, and his forward line was was pressing up. So he left the midfield vacant, but we don't have quality in our midfield without Pogba and McTominay. But I just think that with when Gomez came on against Manchester City, I think we looked a lot more brighter. So I would really like to see him start, or at least get some minutes, because what Ole is talking about is his long-term plan, but his long-term is not really looking good for the short term. And if he wants to survive long-term, he needs to survive short-term first. So Gomez, I think, should at least be in the match day squad. Speaking about McTominay not being there, Nemanja Matic over the last 3-4 games, when he's come in, he's put in a decent performance. He's not been the prime Nemanja Matic, but he has been decent. So I would really like to see him start, or at least James, or at least Garner. I think one of these two have to start. We cannot see Fred Pereira and Lingard, because then they've got no goals in them, and they don't help out the defense as much as they should, or as much as someone like McTominay does. Then speaking about our forward line, I think Mason Greenwood also, he should be starting before Daniel James, because Daniel James, he's been starting a lot of games and he hasn't been giving the output that is desired. So I think think Mason Greenwood needs to get a start, and of course Martial, he didn't start against Manchester City, so he will obviously be starting. And Rashford is a given in our lineup. So yeah, and then Daniel James can come in and use his pace against the Norwich City defense. Speaking of which, Hanley, that's their second choice centre back. He's the one who's been playing because Godfrey Frey has been injured for quite some time. Yeah. So yeah, and speaking about the Norwich City lineup, I think they sit bottom of the table. They have just got three wins in the table, three wins in the league so far. But I think one advantage that they have is that they have a stable lineup. The likes of, well, Cantwell, Pookie, McLean, Buendia. They have been starting a lot of games for Norwich.
Yes.
Yeah, just to sorry.
Yeah, yeah,
Just
Kushagra,
to
please go
add
ahead.
on to that a little. Yeah, just to add on to that a little. This is very well said. But as far as Norwich is concerned, Norwich are another team that like to play football, and but they are a team that are able to play good, incisive passing football with lesser amount of possession. So again, expect Norwich to come to Old Trafford, sit, and again, as I think we mentioned in the last game, just give them all to United, and wait for the United to make an error. You must have seen what the passing chats and passing trends were for United. First of all, there's a myth that United play out from the back because once the ball goes to De Gea, he rarely ever has an idea of what to do, and even if he does, his execution, I am so sorry, but it's not up to the mark. I don't know if the modern game has passed him by, or if the fact that his coach has left. But then we've been seeing issues even before the coach had Emiliano Alvarez had not left. So I do not know where his head is at. Does he still feel he belongs at United? I don't know. He signed a big contract just 6 months back. So I'm waiting for Dean Henderson to come back next year and hopefully challenge him. Because for all the saves the Sergio Romero makes, I still don't feel Sergio Romero can be number one at United. So I feel a problem start out from the back. And also just one thing that I might have missed out during the tactics. What is just as a question to Pratmesh, what is your opinion on Ole never making any substitutions up until either if it's the 46th minute as he did in the past previous match, or up until when almost the substitution becomes null and void? He brought on Angel Gomez at the 64th minute last time, and Angel Gomez helped create a chance and a goal, which of course was scored by Rashford through Greenwood. But he didn't do that at Arsenal. He didn't do that at I don't know, so many number of games I can talk about. So, what is your opinion there?
I think again, Kushagra, I think it comes down to plan A. It comes down to hope. He just hopes that his players do better. Uh, it's something which I think we saw Duncan Ferguson during his very very short stint at Everton, keeping on changing players when he felt they weren't good enough. He changed substitutes to and replaced them with substitutes. I think that is the kind of rudeness that you sometimes need in the game, which Ole definitely does not have. Uh, Talking about, it just doesn't make sense to bring Gomez in the 70th minute. I think we have seen when we have been drawing games, he's brought on Greenwood in what 75, 80 minutes in the game. I think he likes to protect his young players for some reason and then say that he has finished the game with young players and that is why we haven't got the results. I think it's such a pathetic line of thinking to be going on with. But I just don't understand, like you and many other millions of Manchester United fans, that why does he do that? It is very very important for a manager to be very very proactive. I don't feel Ole Gunnar Solskjaer is proactive. I think he's reactive, but his reaction is as slow as it can get. I think I genuinely think Phil Jones reacts to a tackle quicker than Ole Gunnar Solskjaer reacts to a substitution. It's just that slow. I think there is something that is fundamentally wrong with the way him, Kieran McKenna, Michael Carrick, and whosoever else is in that uh, in the coaching setup thinks about it. I think another thing which we have to notice, Kushagra, along with all this, is our midfielders do not like to get on the ball. They like to run away and try and get the ball from someone else. It's just not how something like this works. I think our midfield should be willing to get on the ball, run with the ball, try and create the game for someone else rather than wanting to go away and I don't know, hope for something from nowhere. It's just doesn't work that way. And I think before Smith would like to add some points, I would like to push forward an idea regarding an opportunity to bench Phil Jones by I know it sounds very out of the box, but then Ole has no clue, so let's put a clue to ourselves. Why not play Van Bissaka at the right centre back position, play Lindelof at the left centre back, and go with Ashley Young at right back? So I think that's just a weird thought which I would like to put forward to the panelists today and think and like to get their views on this.
Yes, I think that's a very good suggestion that you've given, because we've been constantly complaining or criticizing, you can say, how Van Bissaka is poor going forward. So yeah, I think that Van Bissaka playing at as a right centre back can be an option that can be used by Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. Having said that, I think that in a two at the back scenario, I don't think Aaron Van Bissaka is the right person to have at the right centre back. Maybe if we try three at the back, then in that scenario, maybe Aaron Van Bissaka can be good at right centre back, but not at the two at the back actually. But it's still a very good suggestion.
Yeah, I think I agree with Mihir. I think offensively, Van Bissaka still, I think he's still learning. But then again, one Van Bissaka assist and Ole calls him an offensive fullback. So I don't know what his I don't know what standards Ole has set for his players and the club. And I don't see us, to be honest, playing three at the back. I think he's gonna stick to his same old. I think he's gonna start Shaw, Lindelof, Jones, and Van Bissaka, and of course Pereira, Fred, Matic, and the regular front three. He might bench James for Greenwood, but that's about it. And also, I'd like to add to something which Kushagra said about the halftime subs. I think Ole and his coaching staff are too attached to this club to make those substitutions at halftime and be ruthless. I mean, he did take out Jesse Lingard last night against City, but then the Arsenal game, you see, he waits for the halftime for the whistle. 46 minutes, he subs out a player. So I don't understand. I don't understand what he's waiting for. To be honest, I mean, yeah, I mean, so even his best friends at the club, right? You don't see a Gary Neville or Rio Ferdinand talk about Ole. They all talk about how the players are underperforming, but as soon as a Van Persie comes in, Ole loses his shit. So yeah, I think yeah, Ole he's got to get things right. And by the way, Norwich sit at the bottom. They're currently 20th in the league. They've conceded the most goals this season, but come Saturday, they're gonna turn into prime Barcelona and beat us 2-0.
Yeah, Prime Barcelona. I think not many people will have to talk about that right now, but yeah, I think Norwich turning into one is definitely a possibility, especially against non-counter attacking team. I don't know what to call our team anymore. It's very difficult to put a name to Manchester United playing style right now. Just call it Ole style football. So yes, I think we need to be ruthless. I think if you have to be very emotionally attached to the club, think about it from the shoes of Marcus Rashford rather than thinking about it from the shoes of Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. I think he's too attached in a negative way rather than positively thinking about the club and trying to produce results. I feel again he's become a slave of the Glazers for someone the other way, and he just finds a way to protect himself, Ed Woodward, and I don't know whoever else is in that category of someone who actually is looking at the club. It has become more or less of a marketing model rather than anything else. And trust me, we are not making money that way as well. So I don't know how the club is run at this point of time. Everybody has been calling out for a technical director. The director hasn't yet arrived. So It's just nothing that's going good at the point. And now come Norwich at Old Trafford and really try to be prime Barcelona, as you said, Smith. And there is a huge possibility about us losing 2-0. I think other than that, I would like to hear other predictions from the guys. I think I'd like to start with Brandon. What do you feel, Brandon? Yeah, so Mihir, what are your thoughts on the game?
Well, given our recent history, you can say for the last one or 2 months, I would say that we're due a win. I think we're going to have a two-match winning streak, which is going to start with Norwich. I don't think we're going to keep a clean sheet, so I'm just going to go with a 2-1 United. Bit optimistic, but yeah.
Yeah, I think we lost Brandon there for a second. Before he comes in, I would just like to, I did say 2, but I would just like to change it to 1 loss. I think Rashford's gonna continue his scoring streak, but I don't think we're gonna get the win, and probably we're gonna see a Pookie masterclass on Saturday. So I'm going for a 2-1 loss.
Yeah,
Yeah, hey there.
Brandon.
I'm sorry. I lost a bit of connectivity there. So yeah, I don't feel confident either. I think Norwich will pretty much give us a nice beating as well. Because we don't do well against small teams either. Now we won't do well against the top six either. So I don't know where our future's headed, and I don't know what plans we have for the future. So I'm going to go for a 2-1 loss with Rashford or Mason scoring for us.
Yes, I would like to hear Gary Neville. Oh, sorry, Kushagra Dixit's thoughts on the result that can be predicted for the Norwich game.
That's a bit much, man. But yeah. So, what do you
Yeah,
predict
but
with this team?
but I'm sure Kushagra can manage a better football club than Gary Neville.
Yeah, let's not get into Valencia right now.
So it'll be interesting to draw parallels. How the last, I think, 6-8 months have been and what Valencia were doing during Neville's time. Anyway, coming back to the point, uh, it's I sort of agree with the fact that this might just be the start of United's two-match winning run. That that always seems to stave off the crisis for another day. So United might actually win a very uh, tough looking match with all of us biting down our nails to our fingers. Probably win 2-1, and that would be celebrated as a great response from the team after such a horrible performance last night.
Yeah, well,
Talking about
whatever the result, one thing that I do not want to see, and whatever the lineup, one thing that I do not want to see is Ole Gunnar Solskjaer smiling after the game. If we lose, if we draw, or if we win.
Yeah, I think the only person who's smiling right now is probably us because we just don't know what else to do but to smile and keep ourselves happy at this point of time in such a crisis situation. Talking about my predictions for the game, I'm going for a 1-0 win for either sides. Don't know what to expect of Manchester United. I don't know what to expect of Norwich City. It is such an unpredictable league with two unpredictable teams. You just can't predict the game. But I think it's going to be 1-0 either side. I think it's going to be a very cagey affair. Norwich looking to get out of the relegation zone. They really need to pick up points. So they'll be coming to Old Trafford hoping to keep a clean sheet to start the game with and then take it from there. Manchester United, well, we just can't break down defenses, can we? And even if we do manage to break the defense down somehow, I don't expect us scoring a second or a third goal. So just can't see anything other than a 1-0 either side for me. Thank you, guys. I think Brandon, Mihir, Smith, and Kushagra, it was a wonderful time, I think, with you guys today, considering what happened last night. I think it was good to let go of emotions for everyone here. And to all the fans around the world who are watching our podcast, I think it's pretty important for everyone to motivate each other because that is the only way we are going to stay connected to the club come 10-15 years down the line. So I think just keep motivating each other and keep believing in each other and just hope and pray that someday we have a better structure at our football club. Thank you for watching Sound of Manchester. Yes, thank you again. And please do like, share, and subscribe to Sound of Manchester. And let's just hope that, unlike the previous managers, Ole's wheel actually just gets repaired somehow.